So, in honor of it being my twin's birthday today, I'm going to share my birth story. And it's going to be a little bit long, but make sure you stick around to the end because there's a message for moms in here. So, I decided to go back to school, go back to pharmacy school in 2011. But before I could get in, I had to take prerequisites. So, I went to the local college, got in there, and was taking organic chemistry, which was absolutely insane because I graduated the first time in 2002 and hadn't had like general chemistry classes since then. So I passed OChem 1 with a B and signed up for OChem 2 for the summer. And then, literally a week later, found out I was pregnant. And a week after that, I found out I was pregnant with twins. Needless to say, this was a huge surprise for myself and my ex-husband. And, considering the fact that I had started going to school, a lot of people were, hey, you're going to have to put that off. You're going to have to sit down for a little while. What are you going to do now that you have the babies? And I was like, what do you mean? I am going to pharmacy school. Like, I intend to be a pharmacist. And it meant more now with not one baby, but two babies, because I was always taught that, when you have kids, they're your kids. So you need to be prepared to take care of them regardless of what support you have around you. I honestly think this is something that is kind of toxic that we need to begin to unpack. But again, at the time, that was how I felt. So here I was, pregnant in my first trimester, exhausted as hell, taking organic chemistry too. It was insane, okay? Can you imagine being pregnant and the only thing that you want to do is sleep, but you have to learn hundreds of chemical reactions and chemical equations because you have a goal of getting through pharmacy school? Well, I passed organic chemistry 2 with an A, and then had to go on and take the PCAT so that I could try to get into pharmacy school. Keep in mind, again, I had just started my journey back to taking prerequisites. There's a lot of classes, maybe about 7 to be exact, that were going to be on the test that I still had yet to take. Still, at about 7 months pregnant, I traveled to Chattanooga, Tennessee to take the PCAT. I wish I could say I passed with flying colors, but I didn't. I made just enough to apply for pharmacy school, so I did, with the full intentions of applying in the spring. However, what I didn't know was that I would have my children at 33 weeks, and they would spend about 5 weeks in NICU fighting for their lives. On November 5th, 2011, I went into early labor and had my children a day later, after about 24 to 28 hours of labor. One via cesarean section, emergency cesarean section, might I add, and the other traditionally or vaginally. Leaving the hospital with your children still in NICU, hooked up to all these machines and talking to all these doctors, is probably one of the most heartbreaking experiences that I've ever experienced in my life. So yeah, I was pretty torn up. I was depressed. Yet not 10 days after having them, I was back on campus to take my final exams for the classes that I was taking before I went into labor. I was taking statistics, microbiology, and general biology too at the time. And I had to finish those exams so that I could continue on the path to pharmacy school. Mind you, I'm still recovering from a C-section, and also going through grief of my children still being in NICU, trying to visit them in the evenings and anytime I could around the schedule that I had for school. And we had one car at the time, so it was really hard to make it back and forth, but we did it. Every week that the children were in NICU was like a waiting game. You wanted them to eat enough so that they could finally come home, or you wanted their vital signs to, be well enough that they could come home with you. And it was just waiting on pins and needles for us to get that call that we could come get the kids and bring them home with us for good. Well, I took my last final exam on December 10th. December 11th, we got a call that the girls are ready to come home and we could come get both of the kids, which is crazy because a lot of times with multiples, one will come home and maybe the others will have to stay there, and they come home on a different schedule. And at this point, I became a full-time student with kids. Let me know in the comments if you want a part two. Let me know in the comments if you want a part two.